Storytelling is an essential part of the content you make, especially when you're talking about business. This is what's going to actually catch people's attention and keep them emotionally invested. So we're going to talk today about storytelling with your content for your business. Now, when it comes to making content, there is the technical aspect that goes into it. Whether it's using a camera, microphone, the editing process, we've talked about a lot of these particular tasks. But in terms of what the content is itself, storytelling plays a great role in that. And by using storytelling the right way, you're able to actually capture people's imaginations, their hearts, and their minds, instead of just pushing and selling products and services. So let me just talk a little bit about how storytelling works. We're all familiar with stories. We've had them our entire lives. People have told them to us. We've read them. We've seen storytelling in movie form and TV shows. And there is a process to how this gets done. Now, really quickly, we're going to have a story. It has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. If you don't have these pieces, then your story isn't going to be complete. But we want to add one more aspect to have any kind of real story. You see, to keep the captivation part in and to keep people's attention, you're going to need some kind of conflict. If not, your story is going to have a nice flat line across it. It's just going to be information over time and nothing really happens. Now, this is different when you're looking at the storytelling process and using conflict. What we like to do is we like to build up to our conflict, have some kind of resolution, and then we finish it up for the end of the story. So if you look at your beginning, we work our way up to our middle of the story where we have our conflict, and then we resolve it going into the end of the story. Now again, without conflict, your story is going to be flat. And if you're thinking about your audience and getting their attention, conflict is really what brings people together. This is what people will remember in their hearts. This is what they'll walk away with, feeling good, feeling bad. However you want that to come off to them, that comes through in the information you put into your story, and specifically what type of conflict you set up and how you resolve it. So let's just talk about practically how this works. I'm going to talk really quickly about the story of my business and just develop a minor little mini story to tell you how that works. So when I started my business, video was not a big thing. There was no YouTube. There was no cell phones with video content on them. There were just separate video cameras that we had to use to record things. Now, I found all of this out after I came back from overseas playing basketball. I decided it was time for me to get on to the next part of my life, which was thinking about my career. So I walked in and met up with my dad, and he was in the middle of a training. Now, this training was called digital storytelling. And what we did in that class was we took our recorded audio, which was a story format. We had pictures and video content, and then we used the computer to create a video of that story with all of those pieces put together into one. It was a really great experience, and quite honestly, I loved it. I jumped in even a couple days late and caught up to the class immediately. So if I was telling that story, I might have 2 points where I have conflict. One, in the beginning when I was overseas playing basketball, I didn't really want to give up that dream at that time, but I knew with my age and all these other factors that my window was really small to make something happen. And I knew that if I got a jump start on whatever my next adventure would be, I would be in a good place there too. So what I did was I made the tough decision, which was definitely an internal conflict for me. I had to decide whether I'd stay in Germany, play basketball, and do the circuit with a lot of my other American teammates, or if I'd come home and look and see what was next. I chose on going on to the next phase of my life, and when I came home, I found that course on digital storytelling, and I jumped all in. The second point of conflict I'd have is when I got there and the class had already started. You see, they had already written their stories. They had already gathered their pictures. They were getting to the part where they were editing their things together. And I was just walking in the door at that point. At that point, I had to play some catch up. So what I did was I took my work home with me. I did my script, I recorded my voice, and by the time I came back that second day, I had all the pieces I need to put together my digital story. From that process and that experience, we took that digital storytelling format, which was a train the trainer format, and we began training others in digital storytelling. Now, the problem with digital storytelling is people have a hard time opening up sometimes. And when you're talking about your business, it's really hard to make it personal at times. But by using this digital storytelling format, we're able to pick out the little pieces along the line that we need to make our story really build up to that climax and that resolution. And then we don't have that flat story that ends up being boring. So I'm just going to leave you with a few tips on creating stories for your business. 1, you want to make it personal. Talk about your origin. Talk about an experience with a customer that really tells the story of your business. Use something that's personal and that resonates with you, because if it resonates with you, it's going to resonate with your audience as well. Number 2, you want to find that conflict and you want it to be present in your story. Again, no one wants a flat story. If you just tell information after information after information with no real problem, no real conflict, no real pull one way or the other, then your audience is going to get bored. You need to find something that focuses on a central problem or a problem that pops up along the way. By doing that, you have the ability to build up to your conflict and then to resolve it at the end of the story. And then the last thing you want to make sure is you want to make sure you have your 3 parts to the story in terms of your structure. So you want to have your beginning, where you want to introduce things. You want to have your middle. Again, that's where your conflict is going to be the most prevalent. And then you want to resolve that conflict by the end of your story. By doing those things, you're able to tell a story that, again, captures people's minds, their hearts, and keeps their attention. And storytelling, especially in business, is important because nobody really remembers a commercial or a sales pitch, things like that. What they do remember is a good story. And if your good story can lead to the front door of your business, then you're doing it right. Okay, so go out there, create stories, use video, use podcast format, whatever it is, but make sure you have those different parts and make sure you have some conflict in there that needs to be resolved. If you like this video, please make sure you like it and subscribe to our channel. We'll be back with more tips on video for your business, and I will see you soon.